Hello and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues and events that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the personalities, the leaders in this magical place that we live. I'm honored today to have Rich Rayner himself as my guest. Thank you so much for being on the show,
Thanks,
Rich.
Conley. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Right back.
I'm glad to just kind of hear about what is on your mind as we kick off 2023. Let's start with my favorite topic, which is budget. I always want to know what's going on, and I know this is like a year-long process, but really things are getting cooking here, right?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it's a continuing cycle. So as soon as one budget is passed, you know, even though the whole staff isn't focused on it right away, but we really do start the budget process again right away. But you're right. You know, we're right back into it. We have a new finance director.
And congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
I want to talk about staffing later, but I know that's a big win, right?
That's a big win, big shoes to fill. We had a phenomenal finance director who left. We can talk about this too. She got a better offer, and so we were very, very sad to see her go. But she was phenomenal. And it just took forever to replace her. But
yeah, and I want to congratulate you because I know there was a big audit that had to happen, and you were without a finance director just because of the market forces, and you and your team pulled it off.
Yeah, we did.
Just one extension, and congratulations. That is enormous.
You know, technically, we could have gotten by without the extension, and I know that there are folks in town that concerns them. I get it. But out of an overabundance of caution, let's just pump the brakes. Let's make sure that we've got all the I's dotted, the T's crossed before we do this. And there just is a dearth of auditing firms that are working for municipalities right now, and our auditing firm has 6 that they represent. So by the time we finish this thing, right after Thanksgiving, beginning of the first week of December, they really needed to turn their attention to some other clients. So we agreed, and I talked to the Auditor General's office, and we all agreed that it would be prudent. Let's just do a 30-day extension, even though it's done.
Yeah.
So
just get it right. We
just want to make sure the format is correct, that we've double-checked everything, because this thing really does get a lot of scrutiny, rightfully so. And it's done.
Great, so congratulations.
We'll get it handed in as soon as we can get its signatures. I think we'll get it handed here in the next few days. Yeah, and then starting that next budget process for approval in the summer, right? We are knee deep. You know, we've got some big ticket items we've got to be aware of. Some folks are aware that we did hire 8 firefighters under a federal grant, the SAFER grant. Part of the conditions of that grant and the union contract are that those 8 firefighters remain on force after the grant runs out. The grant runs out March of next year, so a little over a year from now. We got to figure out, you know, we got to absorb that into the budget. Into the budget, right? That makes sense. You know, and there is obviously the voters passed the referendum for the school bond, so some needed capital improvements to the school, but that's a $20 million bond. First payment on that is due in the next budget. That's an $800,000 payment. We do have debt service falling off, so we got $200,000 falling off of the budget, but that's still, you know, a net increase of $600,000 over what we paid last year. So that has to be factored into the budget. So these are the things that we have to do. Luckily for us, our revenues are very, very strong. We have a very strong tax base. Our collection rate, people are honest in Portsmouth, very proud of that. People pay their taxes on time, which helps us, help them, quite frankly. Yeah. And we have a very high collection rate. So our revenues are very strong. We watch our expenditures like a hawk, and we have kept expenditures right in line with budget. So if you were to draw a graph, you know, from the beginning of the fiscal year to the end of the fiscal year, both of those lines are trending right at where we had budgeted right now. So it looks like we're going to finish strong with hopefully, I'm always trying to end with a surplus. People hate to use that word surplus, I get it, but it helps strengthen our rating position, and it gets us closer to our policy of having a strong reserve balance. So any money that's not spent at the end of the year goes right into the fund balance.
Right, so let's talk about our rating. I heard there was some good news from Moody's.
Yeah, very excited.
Tell our viewers what's going on there.
You're one of the first to hear it. I think I have at least 10 more gray hairs. We got a call right after Thanksgiving that Moody's was going to revise their rating methodology. It had nothing to do with Portsmouth, but it has everything to do with the economy and things that investors are concerned about when they buy a municipal bond. You know, how strong is that town, but what could affect that town in the future? Climate resilience, cybersecurity, fiscal management, strength in leadership, those kinds of things. So under that methodology, they do a scorecard, and Portsmouth would have been knocked down 2.2. We would have gone from AA2, which is where we were at, to AA3 to AA, I think AA1, or I forget. It's confusing. Moody's doesn't do it quite as cleanly as Standard & Poor's. But we would have gone down 2 levels, which would have severely potentially impacted our ability to borrow money in the future at favorable rates to the town.
So what did you do?
So I immediately gathered the team. We looked at past rating calls and requests for information. We pulled out the information that we just provided to Standard & Poor's prior to the school bond issue, and we simply looked at how, you know, how do we highlight our strengths?
Right.
And we have been working on so many things over the last 7 years. How do we get that across to Moody's? How do they understand that, yes, while maybe our fund balance is not as high as perhaps other towns of equal size may have that have this equally high rating, what can we do? What can we say? What can we project that would mitigate that? And we came up with a strategy that we do, and we started this years ago. We do have mandatory cybersecurity training. We were able to emphasize the fact that we have not had a cybersecurity attack. We are under attack constantly. All organizations are, but we do have strong firewalls, and we do have strong policies that help protect us from a ransomware attack or phishing or any of those kinds of issues. And then the other thing that we really emphasized was our attention to climate resilience. We were one of the first, I think we were the first New England municipality to be accepted into the SNEP network. We got a grant, and we were able to come out of that project with a climate resilient CIP and a roadmap to help Portsmouth mitigate the effects of climate resilience.
And Moody's appreciated that, sounds like.
They were absolutely, I won't say enamored, but impressed by our attention to detail and our commitment to keeping the town strong, our fiscal strength over the last 5 years, and quite frankly, the effort that we have put into cultivating good leadership and the seamless transition at the department head levels in key positions, our fire chief, police chief, planner, and obviously the finance director.
Yeah, and you trotted out all the big guns. This was a big meeting.
This was a big meeting. It was very important.
10 new gray hairs?
10 new gray hairs. We had no idea. I let the council know that it happened Monday. I've been keeping them informed, and literally, you're the second to find out because I just fired off the press release to the council, but I'm very proud of the fact that we're going to maintain our AA2. I like to tell everybody that listens that, you know, we're a small town fighting with big towns for big town benefits. We punch way above our weight in many areas, and I'm very proud of the staff. I'm very proud of the residents. I've never, with the exception of maybe a few, most people are very, very proud of Portsmouth and what's happening here in this town.
Yeah.
So,
well,
and I think today was just another.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very. I don't want to speak too highly of it, but it was just another affirmation of, we're doing things right. We don't always get it perfect. I like those bumper stickers. I don't care what your belief is. But I may not be perfect, but I'm forgiven.
Yeah.
So we may not be perfect in the staff, but we learn from our mistakes, and I think we have put a lot of effort over the last 7 years to get the right people in places that are committed to Portsmouth and not just a career.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is great. There's so many things to celebrate.
Sure.
The comp plan. Let's talk about that. And, and listen, I know you know a lot about the comp plan, but I'm really hoping that Leah might come on, your new town planner, and talk to us about the comp plan.
I promise I will put a bug in her ear. I think that she'll do it. She's really excited. She's been working very hard on this, and this isn't to discount anything that Gary Crosby, the previous planner, did, and Mike Gaschiola. It was really a team effort. Mike Gaschiola, Gary Crosby, Leah Hitchin, and Erin Lindo, her deputy. It's over the finish line. We got word. The state. She is literally, as I came here, I walked into her office. She had it up on her computer. The final draft is done. It all came down to formatting. They had approved every element and concept prior to this, but it came down to formatting, and of course the census came out, and so we had to revise a lot of information due to new information in the census. The grunt work is done. She's excited, and we expect any day now to get the final letter of approval from state planning. So this is huge. This is huge for Portsmouth.
And tell our viewers and educate me a little. The biggest thing about this is how it's going to impact zoning and planning and right?
It's really dry. For most people, get people excited about a comprehensive community plan. No, it's not. I mean, but it really is. It's an important document because it's our roadmap. Leah calls it the Bible for Portsmouth. This document lays out our vision, our philosophy, our goals, our priorities, and then our action items. And what it does is it's spread across, I think, about 12 elements, everything from housing to recreation to transportation, you name it, it's in there. Wastewater, climate resilience had to be for the first time addressed in our comp plan. And it gives us a roadmap to achieve the vision that we have for Portsmouth. And it helps align all the stakeholders, whether you're a committee, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're staff, or an elected official. It aligns all those initiatives and your agendas to the same point.
Yeah, and there's some guardrails there.
And it puts in the guardrails. How do we maintain the character of Portsmouth? What do we want that character to be? How do we maintain it? And then it helps guide those, particularly the zoning board, the planning board, design review board, technical review committees. It gives them kind of the information that they need to make their decisions and enact their policy. And it also helps deconflict priorities. I mean, stakeholder A, stakeholder B may both feel that they're aligned with the comp plan, but the comp plan, if you really delve into it, will help deconflict those priorities. The example I like to use is, and this is not just Portsmouth, it's all over New England, only because we're the oldest towns, but spot zoning. Spot zoning has been an Achilles heel. Spot zoning is a situation where you have, let's say you have a residential area, but you've allowed a commercial entity, a light industrial area to happen right in the midst of residents. Where it may have sounded good, hey, we're a free country, you ought to be able to do whatever you want. Well, the implications are huge, here years later. So you'll get a situation. We have areas in East Main Road that are, through whatever, for whatever reason, we're allowed to establish a business there, but then there's houses right next to it.
Right, so you've got a business, a house, a business, and more houses, and that's spots.
So that's just one area that where those, it helps deconflict those areas,
Sure.
and it will guide. The next big heavy lift is going to be the revision of our zoning ordinance. So the zoning ordinance needs to be in alignment with the comp plan. So now that you know, any day now we're going to get a letter from state planning saying, okay, it's blessed, it's approved. The next thing that will happen the following day is we will start the process to align our zoning ordinance with the comp plan, so that the zoning boards and the planning boards know what their guardrails are, how they make their decisions, and they don't have to. They don't have to make something up, you know, because it's not addressed by the comp plan or the zoning ordinance, so they're trying to make the best decision, and then we get involved in protracted arguments and disputes with developers and residents over what we should have done and what we didn't do.
Yeah. How long has it been since we've redone the comp plan?
Oh my God.
This needed to happen.
This needed to happen, and it's kind of a funny story. The very first thing that happened when after I started the job July 1st, 2015.
Okay.
And Keith Hamilton was the president, and he said, I'll pick you up early in the morning, I'll give you a quick tour of the town. And then he had kicked off a staff meeting for me. And I saw, from my perspective, a lot of things that needed to happen in town. I saw broken buildings, I saw roads that needed to be paved, I saw parks that needed attention, I saw a seawall that was crumbling, and I was really discouraged. So I started off that meeting with the staff, coming from my military background. I said, I would like to see your capital plans, I would like to see your maintenance plans, and I would like to see your phased replacement plans. Crickets, because nobody had a clue what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And that was my lingo. So I pulled Gary Crosby aside after that, and I said, I need to learn the language, and I need to know how this works. So he educated me, and I had to write a report, and I looked at what John Klim had written in there, and I noticed that for 3 years he had put as one of his priorities updating of the comp plan. It didn't happen.
Was he the former administrator?
He was former, and it's not a criticism of him, but it just didn't happen. And here I am 7 years into it. It took me 7 years.
Yeah.
So at least 10 years, probably longer than that. I think the last one is dated 2002, but don't hold me to that. Maybe it's 12. I don't know. But the point is that I realized, okay, this is going to be the key to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
And so I sat down with the planner and I said, show me how this thing works and let me have some input into this, because I figured it probably should be one of my priorities. Well, I immediately got myself cross-threaded with the then chair of the planning board, because it's really not a town administrator function, it's a planning board function that gets delegated to the planning department. We smoothed that out, and we got past it. There was a citizens committee that was formed that had input into it, off and on. I think it depended on whatever issue it was, depending on who showed up to the meetings. But it was a long process, and we finally got there.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
REC is part of that, and I know there's sort of a separate REC master plan, right?
And which has to be aligned with the comp plan, but thanks to the councilors that were behind kickstarting that process. But that has also been a long process, but that was due to, we were hoping to be done a year ago, but we started this process prior to COVID, and there were surveys that needed to be done, there was community input that needed to happen, there were workshops that needed to happen. So long story short, COVID just prolonged everything. It's all back on track. We finished the last workshop in November. So the collation of data, the surveys, the interviews, the workshops are done.
It's all coming together now.
It's all together. We have a consultant who is kind of amalgamating all of this. Yeah. And out of the end,
any themes trickling out of it that
yes,
you care to share right now?
Sure. The themes are that you know, we do not meet national standards in many areas for recreation, open space, and facilities management.
So we need to up our game.
We need to up our game.
Okay, all right. That's what
and
that
that's. I think that's what's going to come out of this.
Yeah.
But that will be also full of recommendations and guidelines that will help guide.
Prioritize.
Exactly. It will help guide policymakers and budget priorities.
Right.
So
okay. Well, that's exciting because I know we've been hearing for a long time that citizens want to address this. So good.
And I think we kind of, for a long time, my impression is we went with the tradition. You know, football, baseball, lacrosse, soccer.
Yeah.
But recreation, open space, and facilities is a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Not to discount those. Those are important, and people are interested in those. But what about all the rest that goes with that?
Yeah.
And
which
this report
reminds
will
me
address
of our
that.
senior center. This is what's.
That's another.
How is that going? Because there's
gangbusters.
Yeah.
Very, very proud of that. I know it was a contentious issue in town, but there was just I'll call a spade a spade. There was just an incredible amount of misinformation. The bottom line is we worked very hard to save the senior center. It was in a building that probably should have been condemned. The money that was required, that would have been required to rehabilitate that building and keep that operation going just wasn't available. We had to come up with something else. We took that on. It's not a town department, it's a town building, not a town department, but we worked hand in hand in the end. And we have come up with a solution that is going to make Portsmouth even stronger and better for seniors. We're going to have 52 senior housing units. We're going to have a brand new senior center. It's going to be in a brand new building. It's not going to cost the town a dime. And we're also going to have recreation. It may or may not be the ballpark, but we promised that the recreation area would stay recreation, and we're going to do that as well. So this is another win for Portsmouth.
It's so exciting. And I tell you, you have a brand new town council.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that. Like, so the election just happened in November.
Very excited.
Yeah, you feel good.
Yeah, very good. We have some returning councilors, Councilor Gleason, Councilor Levesque, both very experienced, had been on the council before or in state government, or both. The rest were reelected. So they have tremendous experience in the council, so they know what the issues are. They know the budgeting process. They know what is important in the audits. They understand staffing. So it's going to be exciting to work with them. I think I think we did really, really well.
That is really great.
Yeah.
And now, you know, you're 7+ years into this
7
job,
years.
and I'm sure you've learned a lot about, in general, working with council.
Sure.
Yeah, so you want to wax philosophical about that for a minute, of like your growth over the past several years?
You know, an immediate story comes to mind. I remember when I was called by the recruiter for this job and told that the council had voted to offer me the position, and followed immediately by a comment that he made, which has stuck with me all these years. Do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into? And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea. I never followed local politics.
Yeah.
You know, my entire career, I progressed. I was always, you know, concentrated on the national and international level.
Yeah,
had
and
no
remind
idea.
our viewers what your background is.
Sure, a 31-year Navy career.
Yeah.
I retired as a captain. I had been a Commodore of a squadron. I was the CEO of the naval element for the operational arm of NATO. You know, we were involved in Iraq. We were involved in, my life was completely upended when Putin went into Crimea. I thought I was going to kind of go out gracefully. I went out at Mach 10 when it came time to retire, and had no idea what I was going to do. This job I literally found out about this job from my wife. I was on my way to interview for another job which had been snowed out in Boston, and diverted myself to Buffalo to spend the weekend with my sister, and you know, I couldn't get a flight back to the Netherlands, and my wife sent this to me, and I said, oh, what the heck, I'll try it. Long story, but Was working a number of different things concurrently, and this job came, and I thought, you know what, I'm tired of moving. I'd moved 18 times in my career. I wanted my kids to graduate from a school that they'd been to for a little while, just like everybody else.
Right.
And I had been exposed to the area. Newport is kind of like, you know, all roads lead to Rome. Well, in the Navy, all roads lead to Newport. And I had been in Newport numerous times throughout my career. I liked the area, and I was going to come back regardless. So it just happened.
So we got lucky to have you, and you.
Well, I got lucky to have Portsmouth, I think.
You've learned a tremendous amount.
Yeah, it was a culture shock. I think if I had known more about what I was getting involved in, and you know, it's not all fun and games. You know, it's
clearly.
I worked for an ambassador. And I remember when I got this job, he gave me a call, and kind of the same kind of conversation, you know, do you have any idea what you're doing? And we talked about it, and he says, I'm going to give you one bit of advice. He said, politics is a full contact sport, and even though you're not a politician, you're going to be in the ring. And
you're in it.
Oh my God, yeah, people can be vicious in this world of social media. And non-accountability. I have to be accountable for everything I do, everything I say. That doesn't happen in the real world, as I learned when I retired from the Navy. So people can say anything, do anything, accuse you of anything, and put you on the defensive. And I always have to look at it from a perspective of, I know that their heart is in a good place, and I know that they want the best for Portsmouth. How can we achieve the same goal without the animosity? When I got here, the staff was scared to death of me. They had never met me.
Yeah.
There were stovepipes. There was a bad relationship with other stakeholders, including the council.
It was adversarial.
With the school administration. I mean, the one bit of direction I got from the council at the beginning, bar none, there was no other direction. It was just kind of like, okay, you're the town administrator, go do it. But the one direction I did get was build a bridge across the street, meaning fix this relationship with the school administration.
Yeah.
I think that we've done that. You know, and I know that there's plenty of military guys on your staff here. They understand where I'm coming from. We don't have to get along. We don't have to, but we damn well better do the job. It's just nicer if we can get along. I used to tell my troops, you know, I'm not here to be your friend. We can be friendly, but I'm not here to be your friend. I'm hired to be the town administrator. It's a focal point. I'm that log jam between staff, other stakeholders out in town, committees, authorities, and the elected officials. And it can be really, really trying sometimes, but it's extremely rewarding.
I could tell that. I could see the energy. Well, we are so lucky to have you, and I love that you say you're so lucky to have Portsmouth. Rich, it's been great having you on the show today, and I hope you'll come back soon, because I've got a list of more things I want to talk to you about.
Perfect.
So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
My guest this week has been Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. We'll see you next time on Portsmouth This Week.